Hello friends, we are talking about a low buy year, and I reviewed the first 5 steps in the first video. So as a quick reminder, number 1, figure out your why. It's going to be your foundation to help hold you through this challenge. Number 2, plan some measurable goals, things that you can kind of take measurements of throughout the year so you can kind of see what your progress is and keep you motivated to keep going more. Number 3, figure out what is on your red light list. These are the things you're not going to buy throughout the year or however long you're doing the challenge for. Number 4, figure out what's on your yellow light list. These are things that you can plan for and budget for, and as long as they're in the budget, you can purchase them. Watch the first video for examples for each of these. Item number 5 is things that are on your green list. These are items that you can buy, that you're allowed to buy. These are going to be mostly your essential stuff, but you might have something specific to your family needs that would be on your green light list as well. Now, here are 18 tips to help you succeed over the next 12 months. First one is removing temptations. We want to try and get rid of all the things, all the stumbling blocks that are going to be in your way and cause you to want to buy. I've created a whole list for this on some temptation killers, so you're going to want to watch number 3 of this series to help you get those and help you kill your temptations. The next tip is to create a zero-based budget or some kind of budget that you would that you're going to keep throughout this challenge. Maybe it's even just tracking what your spending are, just making a list of your spending so that you can physically see, this is the things I'm spending money on, this is where my money is going. This next one is huge and it's a really big step, but it's also really important, and it's going to be to inventory everything. We're a family of 6. I was talking about this in the first video about how am I going to inventory things? Am I just going to lay it out on the bed like a Marie Kondo kind of thing and just physically see how many shirts do we actually have for my son? Or am I going to create a spreadsheet and list all the items? He has a red shirt, a blue shirt, a black shirt, whatever it's going to be. I think in my case, actually, since we have such a large inventory stash, that it'll be easier and more doable if I create a spreadsheet, but I keep the categories more general. So like my shirts and number how many shirts I have, but don't go into the categories of like long sleeve, short sleeve, tank top, all the other things. Those aren't as important to me. I'm not a big fashion person anyways. So until I get down to one of these other ones, which is to create a capsule wardrobe, I'm not going to worry about what exact items we have. I'm just going to worry about the number of items that we have in general. The next one is to do a monthly check-in. So I'll be checking in with videos, YouTube videos, to kind of show you guys where I'm at and to kind of see how I'm doing with my savings, how I'm doing with my debt payments that I want to make, checking in with my goals and things. Another part of the monthly check-ins is going to be review purchases that I've made throughout the month and kind of like if I have any regrets or what's working for the no buy and what's not. The next tip is meal planning and establishing a meal plan. I used to be really good at meal planning, and I think my downfall is just that I say that I'm too busy and then I don't do it, or I don't feel like eating what I have planned, and so then just kind of fall off the bandwagon after that. So I've got some good ideas that I'm going to share with you guys in a future video about meal planning, so look forward to that. This next one I mentioned earlier, and it is to create a capsule wardrobe for each family member. So I'm actually excited about this. I'm not a huge fashion person, but I do know that we have lots of extra items that we don't need. Extra pants that don't fit or what have you. So I'm excited to go through each person's wardrobes. And I'm gonna let my older kids go through their own, of course, but with some guidelines, maybe like, let's just focus on keeping this number of pants or this many outfits or something like that, so that they have something to go off of. This next tip is kind of a combination of tips, and it's to use up what we already have, to fix if we've broken something, to try and fix it first before replacing, and also to be creative and come up with alternatives before buying something, before buying a replacement. So it could be, if the couch breaks, then maybe we'll sit on cushions for a month or two and just kind of like explore that and see how that is before we buy a new couch if it doesn't fit into the budget right away. I am the queen of lists. I absolutely love listing. We're going to focus on groceries, household items, seasonal items, gifts, and just creating lists for things so that we can kind of keep track of what we need to buy and what we actually don't need to buy. The trickiest part here with making lists is making sure we stick to the list. Number 9 goes right along with it, and it's to make wish lists for each family member. I'm actually really excited about this part because we'll make wish lists of things that they see in the stores. Jordan Page, she creates wish lists for her kids on Evernote. And so what she does is she'll take a picture of the item, the child holding the item, if they're at a store or something. And then she can put on the list, you know, like how much the price is. And also what I'm going to add to it is what's their desire level, you know, kind of give it a rating out of 10, like how much do you really want this item? And then that way, if they give the item a 10, then I know that they really like it and it's something that I can consider for Christmas or for birthdays. Whereas if they only give the item like a 4 or 5, then it's maybe something we can kind of look for if we need something, but probably not. It'll probably be forgotten by the next day. Next tip is to pause buying, having a pause period or a waiting period before buying an item. The system I'm going to use is to take 1 day for every $10 that purchase is valued at. So if it's a $10 item, I'll take 1 day to research it, ponder it, think about it. If it's a $100 item, then I'll take 10 days to research it and everything else. Now, the questions I'm going to use before every purchase are, number 1, can I afford it? And spoiler alert, if you have a balance on your credit card, if I have a balance on my credit card, I'm not allowed to buy it because obviously I don't have the extra funds to spend on it. Number 2, is my savings at my goal amount? Number 3, is this a need or is this a want? And then to help dive into that even more is, can I survive without it? Because then that tells you right away if it's a need or a want. Number 4 is, why am I buying this item, or what purpose will this serve? Because sometimes there's an underlying cause under there. Sometimes it's more emotional. That's number 5, is, am I masking some emotions here? Am I feeling sad or bored? Number 6 is, have I done the pause or the waiting period to do the research before buying this item? Number 7 is this the right time to buy this? Is it in season right now? Should I wait till the end of the season before buying this when it might be on sale? Number 8 is, can I thrift it? Can I find it on Facebook Marketplace for less? Number 9 is, can I borrow it? Do I have a neighbor or a family member who maybe would lend it to me so I can just use it for the time period I need, especially if it's not something that is super, that's going to be used regularly. Number 10 is, where am I going to store it? Do I have room for this thing? Do I need to get rid of things before I bring in this new thing? Number 11 is, if you're trying to be more sustainable, you might want to ask, what am I going to do with it when I'm done using it? So when I'm done using these pants, what am I going to do with them? Maybe they'll go to be scrap material. Maybe I can donate them still. Maybe I can sell them. And number 12 is my favorite, but can I wait a little longer? Can I live without it? Because if I can live without it and I don't really need it, maybe I don't need to buy it at all. I'll go into greater detail about these questions in a future video, so be on the lookout for that. All right, going back to the tips. The next one is to work on money mindset and beliefs. I'll dive into this in a future video a little bit more, but here's a taste. Things like, I'm not good with money, it's hard for me to save money, I have so much debt, I'll never be able to afford the things that I want. All those kind of things. We're going to talk about it in a future video and about how you can change your mindset and it can change your life. Next tip, don't let fear or inconvenience hold you back from returning an item that's not as good or buying an item in the first place. I absolutely love this thought because in the past, inconvenience has been a stumbling block for me, especially for like returning things. If it's going to be hard to return, then I'm like, ugh, do I even want to do it? Probably not. In 2024, I will not settle for subpar. I'm going to be using the waiting period to do research on the products, so this should really help with avoiding subpar products. I mean, if you knew that a product was going to fall apart or break within a few days, Is it really worth the money that you're putting into it? Because think about it, that money took you time and effort to earn. So is it worth that time and effort that it took you to earn that money to pay for that item that's just going to break or fall apart? Probably not. Now, I generally shop online, but for those of you who love to go browsing in shops in person, then this next tip would be super helpful for you, and it's to set a timer. If you set a timer, you can be like, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to walk through this store. I know that I have to get these groceries or whatever, and that way I won't get sidelined by the clothing aisle or the makeup aisle or something like that. You could also modify this tip to have a friend or family member maybe give you a text or a phone call to check in and say, hey, you said you were going to be shopping for some things. You wanted me to check in with you. How's it going? And I love this tip. Victory is won in the small steps throughout the day. So we have to celebrate our daily victories, all those little wins that you have throughout the day that you think are insignificant, but really they're not. For example, things like, today I brought a lunch. Me and my friends were able to chat through lunch instead of having to go out and buy lunch together. We all brought lunch, and that was a money save. That's a win. Good job. Document your beauty trash. Evaluate it, see if it was really worth it. Did you actually like the item? Especially if you're throwing away an item that's only partially used because maybe it expired or something like that, then maybe in the future you think twice before purchasing something like that again. This is a genius way for you to be more intentional about what you buy. And the last tip is jump back in. If you slip up, and slip ups will happen, mistakes do happen, this is real life, so just jump back in if you make a mistake. Remember, this is like a lifestyle change more than it is a challenge. It's a challenge, but it is helping you to transform your life, especially with a low buy year, because it's more sustainable in the long term, as in lifelong term, if you choose to do it that long. It's not just a challenge that you have to suffer through. So I challenge you to jump back in. Don't let it hold you back.